In celebration of the franchise's 40th anniversary, the Dragon Ball anime has finally returned in the form of Dragonball Daima, one of the last few projects that series creator Akira Toriyama had the chance to work on before unfortunately passing away. With the premiere of Episode 1, not only does Dragon Ball Daima introduce a lot of new lore for the series, but it helps answer a very controversial topic that the fandom has been confused on for months now. That topic being, when does Dragon Ball Daima take place in the Dragon Ball timeline? There's some people that argue whether or not it takes place before, after, or even during the events of Dragon Ball Super. Does it take place in an alternate timeline? Is it before or after the end of Z? There's a lot of inconsistencies that have led tons of fans in so many different directions, but now that Daima is officially out and is already dropping so many plot and lore bombshells, we're finally able to solve this mystery. Trunks in particular is the one character who helps us determine when exactly Dragon Ball Daima can take place, and that's because in Episode 1, we're celebrating his 9th birthday. If we go back in time a bit to age 764 when future Trunks first shows up in Dragon Ball Z, he directly states that his present self will be born in 2.5 years, and that statement is proven to be true when the androids first appear in age 767, and we see Bulma with a young baby version of Trunks, who at the time is about 6 months old, so everything there checks out. Adding on to that, we already know that the Buu saga takes place 7 years after the defeat of Cell in age 774, because A, it's directly stated that there's been a 7-year time skip at the start of the arc, B, Daizenshu 7 directly mentions that the Buu saga takes place in that year, and C, Goku's son Goten is 7 years old, having been born soon after the events of the Cell games. Since Trunks was a baby throughout the majority of the Cell saga, we know that he's already older than Goten by about a year, meaning that he's around 8 years old during that portion of the series. So if we jump forward to his 9th birthday, it's pretty evident that Dragon Ball Daima is supposed to take place in age 775, 1 year after the defeat of Kid Buu. Aside from Trunks' birthday, there's not any exact dates to tell us what point in the year Daima is supposed to take place, so the year number is the only thing that can be confirmed at the moment. However, there are a few other hints dropped throughout the first episode that help back up the claim of it taking place shortly after the defeat of Buu, and not several years later. The first major hint is the heavy amount of Buu saga influence on Daima's storytelling. The first half of Episode 1 focuses heavily on Goma, one of Daima's new major antagonists, who's looking back at recent footage of Goku and the others taking on Babidi and Buu and defeating them. It's also shown that Dabura was killed at the hands of Majin Buu, which apparently crowns Goma as the next king of the Demon Realm, and while that is new information to us, it also appears to be new information to Goma himself, indicating that the former Demon King's death was recent enough to go unnoticed by those living in the Demon Realm. Regardless, now that Goma is king and Majin Buu has already been defeated, there's nobody left to stand in the way of his evil plans, aside from Goku and his friends. So, Goma decides to leave the Demon Realm with Neva, a Namekian from the Demon Realm, and Degasu, the brother of Shin, to use Earth's Dragon Balls to turn all of our heroes into harmless kids. So then, there's really nobody standing in his way. But first, he actually has to travel to Earth in order to use their Dragon Balls, which leads us to that second hint behind Daima's timeline placement. When Goma and his crew leave the Demon Realm, they're stopped by some sort of gatekeeper that questions where they're going, what universe they're wanting to go to, and what quadrant of the universe they specifically want to travel to. When they say that they're going to Earth, the gatekeeper says that Earth has been a pretty popular travel spot lately, hinting that a few other characters from the Demon Realm have traveled to Earth not long before them. Of course, Goma then confirms that these characters are none other than Dabura and Babidi. It doesn't stop there. Not only is it confirmed that Daima is showing Trunks at his 9th birthday party and that Dabura and Babidi have recently traveled to Earth, but when Goma and his crew actually arrive on Earth to confront Dende, we learn that the Dragon Balls had been recently used and are currently turned to stone. Now, Daima doesn't explicitly tell us how long the Dragon Balls have been stoned over, and it doesn't really matter in the end because Neva uses magic to revert them back to their normal form anyway, but the only logical wish that could have been made in recent memory, given all these previous context clues, is that the most recent wish had to have been the one made to Shenron 6 months after the defeat of Kid Buu to make everyone on Earth forget all their memories about Majin Buu and the bad things that he did. We even get confirmation from Krillin that this wish was made relatively recently, so now everything makes perfect sense. So now, with all that being said, Dragon Ball Daima's placement in the timeline should be pretty straightforward. It takes place in age 775, a year or so after the defeat of Kid Buu, but soon after the wish they made to make the people of Earth forget about Majin Buu. Because Daima takes place right after the Buu saga, but before everything we've seen in Dragon Ball Super, we likely won't be seeing characters like Tarbell or Beerus because the Yo Son Goku and his friends Return special takes place 2 years after the defeat of Kid Buu in age 776, and the events of Battle of Gods don't take place until age 778, 4 years after the defeat of Kid Buu, where we see Videl in her early stages of pregnancy before giving birth to Pan in age 779. However, even with everything being pretty straightforward, there's one huge inconsistency that is still confusing plenty of fans, and that is the fact that Shin and Kibito are defused. We saw that the two of them fuse into Kibito Kai during the latter half of the Buu saga, and then defuse by using the Dragon Balls after Beerus and Whis had already made their presence known during the events of Dragon Ball Super. Yet, in Dragon Ball Daima, the two of them are defused into two separate beings once again, and that just doesn't add up. What the two of them say is that Buu's body can produce some sort of mysterious gas that can undo the Potara fusion, which is what we all thought was the case back in the day when Vegito first defused. But then, Dragon Ball Super revealed that the Potara fusion isn't permanent for mortals, but instead is permanent if a Kaioshin were part of said Potara fusion. So now, it seems like there's a whole bunch of retcons and new rules that keep adding on to the Potara, and because of this, we're now confused on why Shin and Kibito are separated if this takes place shortly after the Buu saga. The only logical explanation for all this is that we don't fully know the story of Dragon Ball Daima at the moment, which could be a bit of a cop-out answer. We know that Akira Toriyama wanted Shin on his own to play a major role in Daima, which is evident because he's one of the main characters alongside Goku, and even has newly revealed siblings that come from the Demon Realm. But because of the important role that Shin will play in Dragon Ball Daima, it's 100% possible that Shin and Kibito will be forced to fuse together once again toward the end of the show, and maybe that's why we see them as Kibito Kai in Dragon Ball Super. It would feel a bit redundant though to have them fuse, defuse, refuse, and then defuse again, but that might just be the case. We don't fully know what direction the story will go in Dragon Ball Daima, at least not at the moment. The only thing that we know for sure coming off of episode 1 is that it takes place in age 775, Goku and his friends have already defeated Kid Buu and wished for the people of Earth to forget about Majin Buu, and now a new threat from the Demon Realm is revealing himself to our heroes now that other threats in the Demon Realm have been taken care of. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's quick little timeline video about Dragon Ball Daima. If you did, please do me a favor and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I talk about anything and everything relating to Dragon Ball, so if you're a fan of the show, you won't be disappointed with what you'll find here. As for Dragon Ball Daima itself, what are your thoughts on the series so far? I for one am having a blast seeing the incredible animation and world building, and knowing that this is one of Toriyama's final projects, Daima is going to be an incredible send-off to the man who started it all. I cannot wait for new episodes to drop and see where the story goes, but in the meantime, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have a discussion. Until my next video, thank you all so much for watching. I will be seeing all of you Dragon Ball fans later. See ya!